Welcome to Coruzant Technologies, home of the Digital Executive Podcast.
Welcome to the Digital Executive. Today's guest is Jehan Luth. Jehan Luth is the founder of Banyan, a fintech infrastructure company on a mission to harness the power of item-level receipt data and empower merchants, financial institutions, and consumers by delivering personalized experiences. With a unique and checkered background, Jehan's education and experience include studies in computer science, public health, epidemiology, and privacy law. Jehan's focus on data-driven problem solving led him to identify a glaring gap in verifiable receipt data. He vowed to fill that gap to benefit consumers and merchants alike by founding Banyan. Well, good afternoon, Jehan. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
You absolutely. This is so fun. Jumping on to a podcast every day is kind of what keeps the doctor away. And for me, truly amazing. I've interviewed over 500 guests from all over the world. So I appreciate your time today. And Jehan, we're going to jump right into the questions so we can get your story out there. So you've got quite the career in technology, senior executive, serial entrepreneur, and now you're the founder and CEO of Banyan. Could you share with our audience the secret to your career growth and what inspires you?
Sure. You're right. I mean, my educational background is quite interesting as well, right from computer science to culinary school to med school. So it's quite a unique background. But there's really been two things that have driven me. First is truly rooted in curiosity for me. My mind works in clearly two different ways. There's the creative side, and then there's the rule following side. So you can imagine things like computer science, it's a balance of both, right? How can we be creative with the rules that are set forth? It's less, I think, planned and definitely a lot more organic on finding my passion and pursuing curiosity.
I love that. And the fact that you've traversed, and we've had a lot of people do that. They've traversed their career, their schooling, and honestly, it just made them more prepared for when they launch their business. So I appreciate the share on that. So Jehan, what was the single biggest business decision you had to make during the first year of the pandemic? When everybody had to lock down completely. How different is your business strategy today?
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, in our case, I founded Banyan, call it at the end of 2019, which is months before the pandemic started. And early days, like any early venture, it's really about proving the hypothesis and testing things out. But 3-4 months into a new venture, when a pandemic comes down, I think it's a clear choice, right? Do you keep pursuing what you're doing? Or in my case, even more relevant, I have a epidemiology degree. So do I go in the public health side and do what my medical training was had built me to do? And I think in that moment, it was clear what we were onto at Banyan was something so much larger and greater that the easier path is always giving up. And in our case, we chose the harder one and said, no, we got to double down. And the pandemic forced us to think about it differently. But at the same time, it really forced me to put, all the chips in the center, so to speak.
Thank you. And we all had to, and I hate using this word pivot, but we all had to pivot. We had to make decisions and overcome some pretty significant obstacles during this time. So thank you again. And Jehan, you're obviously leveraging some new and emerging technologies within your tech stack. Is there anything you might be able to share with us today?
Yeah, I think a big piece of what we're doing at its very core is not a new idea. It's not something I would say is decades and decades old in terms of the idea, but in terms of the technology and also the ubiquity of cloud computing and having access to incredible resources that another company is building out and investing in heavily via all the big cloud providers. We specifically run on the Google Cloud, but it's a combination of cloud computing needed to be cheap enough for us to take on a project like this, to process this volume of data. But at its very core, we're also an infrastructure company. So inherently, as an infrastructure company, we get graded on a couple very simple things: speed, quality, and in order to do those things really well at scale, the core infrastructure of Banyan needs to be built right. So I know it's a long-winded way of not answering your question, but there's quite a few pieces that go into Banyan's tech stack in that regard.
Thank you. Appreciate the share on that. And I think everybody has their own way of leveraging the technology based on their business need or their business model. So again, just love to talk tech here, Jehan. But last question, Jehan, can you share something from your career experience that would be helpful for those looking to grow their career in tech or entrepreneurship?
Yeah, I mean, there's probably a couple things, right? The first one, probably the biggest myth, that you need to have a certain set of skills and experiences in order to be a tech entrepreneur is simply not true, right? You do need to have basic understanding of how things work and how technology is built. But after it, I mean, I went to culinary school and med school, and here's where I'm sitting. I think for most people, the key, I think, is finding something you're incredibly passionate about and hopefully also good at. That doesn't have to be tech. I often believe that tech is, especially in today's world, is sort of like language in so many ways. It's the modality of delivery. The content still needs to be you and me, right? And same with language. It's not about what language you speak. It's the content behind the language that matters more. So yeah, in my biggest advice for folks is really going to be finding something they're incredibly passionate about and not letting, random books or stereotypes of, oh, you have to be a certain background to be a tech entrepreneur, or you have to live in a certain area, or none of that stop you.
Thank you. I appreciate the share. And you're right. Every industry, every vertical has its own uniqueness. And so, I appreciate the share. I know that our audience will appreciate that as well. Thanks again for the nuggets. And Jehan, it was a pleasure having you on today. And I look forward to speaking with you real soon.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Looking forward.
Bye for now.